Jehovah's Witnesses just deleted their most infamous video off their website. We're gonna go through why they did it, how they're using it to lie to the courts, and the new strategy of the governing body when it comes to shunning. But first, let's watch the video that they just deleted. I'm sure, even if you've never seen it before, that you will immediately know why they wanted to hide this video.
It feels so good to be with my family and friends. When I'm with the brothers and sisters in our congregation, it's the best place I could be. My children and I are so happy now. But it hasn't always been this way. My parents were missionaries when my mom got pregnant with me. Mom and Dad were very zealous, and people just assumed that I would follow in their footsteps. And for a while, I did. I was the model child who was always held up as an example. Sure, the attention boosted my self-confidence, but it also put me under enormous pressure. It was like everyone was watching me, and I couldn't make a mistake. In my mid-teens, I began to feel torn. I liked the truth, but I felt so confined. I didn't tell anyone how I felt. I just pretended everything was all right and went through the motions. I envied kids who didn't have to live under so many restrictions. And if they got the truth later in life, they got to experience the best of both worlds. I thought maybe things would improve after I graduated high school. But then at my new job, I met Eric. He truly understood me. He made me feel special. And I loved him. I loved him. In many ways, I felt free. For the first time in my life, I could just do what I wanted. It wasn't long before our relationship became intimate. I felt guilt at first, but after a while, it just seemed that this is what two people who love each other do. And I was willing to give up everything for him. Everything.
If you've never been a Jehovah's Witness, you might be confused at this. After all, this just sounds like the story of a young woman who was active in her church with her whole family and then found a romantic partner. This, however, is a huge sin in the religion and probably the most common reason to get kicked out and shunned. Ask any elder who you might trust, and they will tell you that the most common sin that gets people kicked out is fornication. That's why the Jehovah's Witnesses spend so much time, money, and effort making a video teaching everyone exactly what they're supposed to do when this common scenario happens to them.
Looking back, my parents tried hard to do the right thing. To do things Jehovah's way. But because I didn't have a hatred for what's bad, I couldn't see anything wrong with my choices. This eventually led me to do things I later regretted. I ended up getting disfellowshipped.
Sonia Erickson has been disfellowshipped.
It crushed my whole family.
Okay, to continue the meeting, we may remember last month's service.
Later, my father explained to me that I couldn't remain in the home because I refused to change my lifestyle. He told me I was having a negative effect on my younger brother and sister. And I'm out of this house. I was determined to do what I wanted. When I left home that day, all I could think about was Eric. I didn't even care that my parents' hearts were breaking. I didn't think about the devastation and disappointment that I had caused them. I blamed my parents for my situation. I even blamed Jehovah. My family missed me so much, even after all I had done. What helped them to remain loyal to Jehovah for the many years I was disfellowshipped? It was the Bible account of Aaron. Jehovah directly judged 2 of Aaron's sons and put them to death. In this case, Jehovah asked Aaron and his family not to mourn in order to show the entire nation that they supported Jehovah's judgment. Mom and Dad saw that they needed to be loyal, just like Aaron. They loved me and wanted me to come back to Jehovah. I tried to contact them. I just wanted to talk and to hear their voice. I missed being with my family. And they thought about reaching out to me. But they knew that if they had associated with me, even a little, just to check on me, that small dose of association might have satisfied me. It could have made me think that there was no need to return to Jehovah.
This depicts exactly how the family of even a young person who still lives at home is expected to behave. If the young person doesn't want to cut things off with their new romantic partner, then parents are expected to kick out their son or daughter from the family home so the rest of the home doesn't get contaminated by their negative effect of having someone who directly disobeys the rules of this religion. Parents weren't even supposed to pick up the calls of their disfellowshipped sons or daughters like they show here. This has been revised somewhat since now they're allowed to invite them to go back to the cult, and they're allowed also to say hi to them at the congregation if they show up. But not for everyone. I have friends whose parents still refuse to talk to them because the old full form of shunning is still used for anyone who speaks out against their religion, like I'm doing right now. And that shunning can last for a lifetime.
I was disfellowshipped for more than 15 years. I had 2 children now, and as time went by, I thought about their future. I thought more and more about returning to Jehovah and the congregation, but I didn't feel worthy.
Psalm 86.
One day, 2 elders stopped by and kindly reminded me that Jehovah wants me to return to him. They showed me Psalm 86, verse 5, where it says that Jehovah is ready to forgive. I thought about that verse the rest of the day. Jehovah is ready to forgive. So I decided to go to the Kingdom Hall for the first time in many years.
Feeling of remorse is healthy. It can move us to take positive steps to correct our mistakes.
It made me realize just how far off track I had gotten. I was determined to qualify for reinstatement. Nearly a year later, my reinstatement was announced to the congregation.
Sonia Erickson is reinstated as one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
I was so happy. The brothers and sisters welcomed me very warmly. Being back together again with my family and Jehovah made me feel so good. I knew this is where I needed to be, and I didn't ever want to leave again. But when I'm alone, I struggle with whether Jehovah has really forgiven me. One time I was so distraught that I called my father for help. He comforted me with the words of Isaiah 1 verse 18, where Jehovah says that our sins, which are like scarlet or crimson cloth, can become white like snow. Then my father related the Bible account of Manasseh. Manasseh did on a grand scale what was bad in Jehovah's eyes to offend him. He even sacrificed his sons in false worship. Eventually, Manasseh genuinely repented, and Jehovah forgave him. This Bible account touched me deeply. Now, I have to be willing to forgive myself. If Jehovah was willing to forgive the sins of Manasseh, as bad as they were, surely he has forgiven me. What a blessing to understand that Jehovah forgives in a large way. And now, I'm truly happy.
Oh, I bet they wish they didn't plaster their name and logo all over the end of this video now that they're trying to pretend it doesn't exist anymore. But why are they deleting this video off their archives? Well, this video has made it harder for Jehovah's Witnesses to pretend they're not a cult because it kind of shows them for the cult they are. You see, the leadership and lawyers of this religion are extremely slimy and like to lie to the court about their most damaging beliefs, including shunning. Not even a year after they released this video and made the Jehovah's Witnesses watch it and study it in the meetings, a Jehovah's Witness lawyer was ready to lie to the court about it.
And the congregation elders took the decision to disfellowship him. That word is used by Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses don't use the word shun or shunning. They refer to it as disfellowship, disfellowshipping, disfellowshipped, because that really gives the sense of what's taking place within this particular religious community. Disfellowship literally means no further spiritual fellowship with the individual. As I point out at paragraph 22 of my factum, the nature of the relationship then of a disfellowship person is not completely shunned. The disfellowship person is able to come into the congregation, to the congregation meetings. They're able to attend in the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses. They're able to sit wherever they like. They can sing the spiritual songs with the congregation. As far as their family members are concerned, normal family relations continue with the exception of spiritual fellowship.
Jehovah's Witnesses are never forward about their most damaging beliefs, especially when they're in front of the court. Instead, they like to misrepresent their beliefs to make them look more palatable, even if that means outright lying to the authorities about them. Lying like that, however, becomes exponentially harder when anyone can quickly play a 9-minute video of how things really play out in this religion. Like this video about Sonja Erickson, who gets disfellowshipped as a young woman, kicked out of her family home, and fully shunned by her family for 16 years, 15 by herself, and a whole year being shunned while attending the congregation, refusing to even meet their grandkids until the mom gets admitted to the cult. This video specifically was used in court against them in Norway, and it played a very important role since it pretty much confirmed the testimony of multiple brave people who came forward to talk about their own shunning, which perfectly mirrored this video, showing how much Sonja Erickson would have suffered with testimonies of her real-life counterparts. The Jehovah's Witness lawyers tried to lie to the court, like in this video I just showed you. I have a whole video recapping what happened there day by day if you're interested in the minutiae, but what did the Norwegian court end up deciding? Well, the Jehovah's Witnesses ended up losing their religious registration and the free money they got from the Norwegian government, costing them millions of dollars. This obviously doesn't affect the average Jehovah's Witness, since they can still do pretty much everything they were doing before, including shunning people. But this does affect the leaders of their religion, who will not be getting millions of dollars anymore just for existing. In my Norway video, I said that the Norwegian decision could act as a precedent for other European nations to follow suit and remove their religious registration just like Norway. And if you allow me to get conspiratorial for a bit, I think that is exactly why this religion removed this video. It is not because this religion is relaxing its shunning practices. It's because since the Norwegian decision, they have been cosmetically changing things inside this religion so they can more seamlessly lie to the courts. That's when they made the change, so you can now acknowledge people who were kicked out of the congregation. They also got rid of the term disfellowshipping and instead changed it for the more harmless sounding removing. And they deleted the one video that was shown in courts for them to see the true horrors of shunning directly from the cult. If before they were willing to outright lie to the courts to say that disfellowshipping didn't mean shunning, when that's what it meant, imagine how they will try to lie now. Now they can say that they don't even practice this fellowshipping and that people who are removed from the congregation can still chat with anyone in the congregation, so it's not shunning really. And we need to be on the lookout for these lies to call them out when they try to fool the courts with their update strategy, because shunning is still an issue in this cult. Sure, they deleted the one video that was shown to the courts, but the other video about disfellowshipping that, as far as I know, has never been shown to the courts is still there.
My name is Gabriella. Ben and I have always enjoyed attending the meetings. But lately, it's been difficult. Something was missing. Our son. It was like watching a movie of someone else's family. I couldn't believe this was happening to us.
Agora temos o anúncio que será feito pelo nosso irmão José Luiz.
Our son Levi was no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Que Levi de Oliveira não é mais testemunha de Jeová.
The elders and friends in the congregation were so supportive and understanding. Many of them watched Levi grow up, give his first talk, get baptized. I was so torn. I was disappointed in Levi for leaving Jehovah, but I was more disappointed in myself. I felt like we failed him somehow. I kept wondering how he was doing. Was he okay? Then, as hard as the past few weeks had been, it just got harder. I knew what the Bible said about quit mixing in company with anyone who is not living according to Christian standards, but I never thought that scripture would one day apply to me. It's been 5 years now, and while Levi still hasn't returned to Jehovah, I haven't given up hope on him. Until that day, I'm staying busy as a regular pioneer and focusing my energies on helping others learn about Jehovah. I've come to experience firsthand the truth of Psalm 97:10. Jehovah really does guard his loyal ones.
The governing body also will remind Jehovah's Witnesses in the upcoming annual meeting that shunning is alive and well, literally dehumanizing the people they kick out of the congregation.
Well, knowing that Jehovah will by no means leave the guilty unpunished, what things should we then help to tear down or send away from the congregations? What should we tear down and send out? The concept of tearing down is not difficult to see when we think of it in terms of a building. Some houses are just beyond repair, and for this reason, they must be torn down. The house in this illustration makes that point, doesn't it? I don't think you're going to fix that one. At the same time, Jehovah's standards of righteousness and justice have not changed. Each of us must work to uphold his standards of right and wrong. Like the angel in Zechariah's prophecy, elders today must protect Jehovah's people by exposing, restraining, and sending out what is bad from the congregation.
And the day these shunning videos were deleted, they also uploaded this video for all Jehovah's Witnesses to see.
Thinking ability is not to be confused with independent thinking, which Satan promotes. One indication of independent thinking is to question the counsel that we receive from the visible part of Jehovah's organization through the faithful slave. But unfortunately, there is independent thinking that at times comes from our very fellow worshipers. For example, have you ever heard someone say, "You're still just a housewife. Times have changed. Why don't you go get a job?" Or the expression, "Pioneering is not for everyone. You need more training and education if you're going to make it in today's world. Let them tap your talents and skills." I feel the best way to help my disfellowship relative is to stay in touch with him. But you know what? Thinking ability is what protects us from these and other reasonings that don't reflect Jehovah's thinking on matters.
Shunning is alive and well in this religion, regardless of how much they're trying to blur the lines so they stop losing the undeserved charitable status they have with governments. The governing body is clearly changing things just enough to lie more easily to the governments, but inside this religion, nothing substantial about shunning has changed. The cult is preparing to lie to the courts and governments that decide that they shouldn't support a damaging group like this one. It's up to us to make sure this cult doesn't get away with it. Thank you so much to my viewers and my YouTube and Patreon supporters like these guys right here. You can join them to watch videos early and support my work with any amount of money that you wouldn't miss. Yeah, and you also support Lucifer over here. He's been meowing all over the video. Jesus Christ, Lucifer. No wonder you're called Lucifer.